Hi, this is Courtney with the Nisqually Land Trust. Today I'm going to be watering some plants out on our Powell Creek property, and I thought I would just give you a little bit of a snapshot of what my day looks like. So it's about 8 o'clock right now. I just got to our field office. You can see we've got, shed, that kind of stuff. I'm filling up our water tank. We need about 200 gallons of water, which is technically not the tank's capacity, but how much we're supposed to fill it to. I don't know how to fix that. Yeah, so here's the tank. It's just a big tank, and it's about full. So I'm gonna turn it off and then get going to our Powell Creek property. Hi again. So now I made it out to the Powell Creek site that we're doing the watering at. We call it Spooner because it came from the Spooner family. That's the road up there. You kind of had to drive up that hill. I really love the drive out here. Really beautiful. I considered filming part of it, but then I thought that seemed like an unsafe driving practice. So anyway, you come from that hill. There's a neighbor. Drive across this field and then you're in our field. So this is about a 60-acre pasture that was formerly used to grow berry rootstock, as I understand it. Over the last few years we've been planting, so all of these little trees were planted this year. The ones over there in the corner were planted by Nisqually River Education Project students, and then the ones this way were planted by some Nisqually Land Trust volunteers on Martin Luther King Day of Service, and then over there in the distance planted by the Nisqually Indian tribe. Yeah. Oh, and there's a few plants. You can kind of see them. They look bigger. They're mostly shore pine that we planted 2 winters ago now, and those plants are all doing great. So this site is pretty easy soil to dig in, pretty good soil, but it is fairly dry. So that's why we're doing watering here. We wish we could water all the plants, but we don't really have a good water source for that. But what I am doing today is, so this winter in addition to the regular small plants, we installed some big trees. So they're about 10 feet tall, and they kind of run along the fence line here. The goal for the big trees is, to get some age diversity in along with the species diversity, but also to provide some shade for the younger plants, because this is such a wide open, fairly dry site. Really important that there's shade, and so hopefully if these trees do well, they will provide shade for the little trees, help them grow a little bit better. So what I'm doing right now is watering them. As you can see, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We don't really have a good water source, so that's why I was earlier, as I showed you, filling up our water tank. And then we have a system together where we have some 5-gallon buckets, mostly handy buckets from Home Depot. We have 2 of them at each tree, and we're just filling them up. The buckets have holes drilled in the bottom, and then, see if you can see, yeah, holes drilled in the bottom, and then some of them have tacks in the holes to kind of just encourage the water to drain more slowly. We don't want it to drain too slow because we do obviously want it to get to the tree, but we don't want it to drain too fast, or else it might just run off of the root ball and not actually be absorbed by the roots. So it's been a little bit of a trial and error period. Some of the buckets drain way too fast, some of them don't drain enough, so it's kind of been a little fiddly, but I'll show you. Oh yeah, so the trees, I've already watered 4 of them, and then I'm not sure exactly how many trees, like 20 that still need to be watered. So what I do is I just take my hose, it's like just a gravity system, and I put it in the bucket and wait for the bucket to fill up. Each tree is supposed to get, I think, like 9 gallons, 8.4 gallons of water per watering session. So I fill up each bucket almost to the top, so it's about 4 gallons and some change each. And yeah, it's a pretty time-consuming process. There's not really a way to speed it up, but I enjoy it. It's what needs to happen, and yeah, it could be worse things to be doing. yeah, so especially when I get to hang out in a place that's as beautiful as this. I don't know if you can hear, but there are tons of birds. Here, like I was mentioning, is a planting that we did last year. We just did a pretty thin strip of plants down to this. I call it a tree island. I know that it's not actually what it's called, but it's a little patch of trees. It looks like an island. What we planted here primarily were Oregon grape and shore pine. So the shore pine, kind of hard to see, is doing really well, growing really well, having a lot of new growth. Some other plants that are doing well in this planting are the Oregon grape. Pretty happy. Some of them have some nice blooms on them, but not any of the ones directly around me. We also have some snowberry that's still working on leafing out, but it's getting there. Yeah, so it's really exciting to see these plants doing so well. Maybe when I get to the other side of the planting, once my watering gets a little further, I'll show you some other species that we planted. This year we planted a much larger variety of species than we usually have in the past. So, or at least than we did last year. So yeah, that's that. Okay, now I'm at Security State Bank. This property is in the middle Ohop area, so about middle reach of the Ohop. Down the valley is our lower Ohop properties, and then up the valley is upper Ohop and Ohop Lake. So these other cars are some other people that are working today. Everybody is driving separately and working far apart to maintain social distance. This specific site used to have a barn on it pretty recently, and then after the barn was removed, it was planted by the Nisqually River Education Project, as well as the Nisqually tribe and land trust volunteers. So these plants, there's some blackberry here that we're working on removing later this summer, but the plants that are here are doing pretty well for the most part, despite being planted in pretty rocky soil that's in the old barn footprint, at least parts of it. So we've got some grand fir, got some Oregon grape, you can see some shore pine over there. There's some like ornamental plants on this property because it used to be more residential. We've removed some of them, but a lot of them are not really a concern to us at this time. Yeah, so on the other side of the creek, which we can walk to, we are working on tubing a lot of plants that did not get tubed earlier this season due to the coronavirus issue. So these plants that I just showed you were planted about 2 years ago, and then the plants that we're currently tubing we just planted this year, some of them just a couple months ago. Some older plants that we planted. There's some cedars over here that are doing super well despite being kind of exposed to the sun. They're healthy, they're not sunburnt for the most part, so that's exciting to see. We've got a little willow thicket wetland over there. I really like this site. For whatever reason, every time I'm here it's sunny, so I know that it's not always sunny here, but in my mind it kind of is always sunny here. Yeah, so we're about to cross the Ohop over the Grist Bridge. We call it the Grist Bridge because it's really sketchy and we're working on getting it removed. Yeah, we don't drive over it or put any sort of equipment, just walk. You can see there's some land trust staff and other people tubing right now. Here's the Ohop. It's flowing that way down to the lower Ohop. Yeah, so that's that. This is the Grist Bridge. Here's a little log jam that built up during the flooding. I don't know if you can really tell, but the creek is really wide right here, way wider than it usually is. You can see where the reed canary grass is kind of underwater. That's where the former side of the creek was before the flooding in February. So this area sustained pretty substantial flood changes due to the Nisqually flooding. And there's a big spot over there that actually fell into the creek that we had plants planted on. So yeah, we lost some plants over there, but that's okay. I'm just gonna keep tubing for the next couple hours.